Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to host an AMS session with Two Lands, and this is a well-known project, and I have been listening from the team since few days. So let's see what have they brought. Mr. Jared, he is the CEO and founder of Two Lands. He is here, and he will be speaking to us. And in this AMA, we are going to have three segments. First one is about the introduction, and in the second segment we are going to pick some Twitter questions, and in this third one, we are going to unmute five people. They will ask questions, and the team of Two Lands will be directly talking to you guys and answering your queries. So, welcome, Mr. Jared.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? My partner Zach is on here too. Zach.
Zach, how are you
Hi
guys
there.
doing?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh, perfect. How are you doing?
Excellent. Very well, thank you. Thanks for having us today.
So much for joining us today. Let's get an introduction about of you and Mr. Jared and your guys' experience in crypto, and how did you get started the project, and when was it?
Sure, absolutely. So our backgrounds are varied. I'll start with mine, and then I'll let Jared give you some color on his, and then we'll jump into some stuff about the project as well. My background primarily began in recruiting. I got my start recruiting in the tech and finance space. Worked as a junior associate at a firm based in Fairfield County here, where Jared and I are from. We live in Connecticut, just outside of New York, and there's a lot of tech and finance in the area. So a lot of hedge funds, a lot of high frequency trading desks, a lot going on in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2010s. And that was mostly when I was doing my recruiting. Once I got out of that, I was in design for a little while. I worked in graphic design. I did actually pursue a degree at one point, a master's degree in fine arts, and so I do have a design-oriented background as well. But where Jared and I actually found each other was in a service-based discipline. We had, during the pandemic, been individually kind of recruited and then connected by a couple colleagues of ours to manage some stores here in the area that we live. And we are signed on with a restaurant group that, does rather well. And we manage a few stores for them. And together, over the last couple of years, we've been able to grow a few stores, and that's essentially been our day job, and that's where we got our start together, was in restaurants. So varied background, a lot of client facing, a lot of interaction, very dynamic kind of working a lot of the time. And my background is definitely based in soft skills, though at the same time I do have a design-based background, an artistic background. And my involvement with crypto was, I believe, it was around 2017. First time I started dabbling. It wasn't until some of the more recent bull action that I got more heavily involved and decided to kind of build into the space. And I'll let Jared do a little bit of introduction for himself, but it was during the 2020, 2021, around that time that Jared and I began developing this project.
So much, Zach.
Yeah, thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Mr. Jared.
Oh, thank you. I thought the video was on, but I guess it's early for us here. You're the first of the day. We're just waking up here outside New York City. So just so everyone knows, we are an ERC20, an Ethereum-based token. We are located in Fairfield County, Connecticut, which is a suburb. It's just across the New York border. So many of the people that work in my town, in Zach's town, commute to Manhattan for work. So we're about 45 minutes out of New York City. So that's a little about where we are. A little bit about me. I consider myself old in the crypto community. I'm 44. I'll be 45 next month. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I got my start out of college actually in finance. I was a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. I did that for a few years, and then I was offered an opportunity I couldn't refuse. My passion was always music, and I had done it semi-professionally, all my life until I was offered the opportunity while at Morgan Stanley to go play drums and tour with, at that time, a very successful multi-platinum band. So, as a 23-year-old kid, there was no way I was turning that down. So I did that, and then that kept me busy for a few years, and I always kind of traded on the side because of my finance degrees. I just had a true passion for the markets and how they move. And there's a lot of people in this area where Zach and I are from. There's a lot of people that commute to Manhattan for work on the street. So it was just kind of the circle I ran in those days. I knew a lot of people. And so anyways, I did that for the better part of 13 years. I was on the road with various different artists, and until the birth of my daughter is what made me retire. And in that time, intermittently, I would, if I wasn't on the road and I wasn't trading, I would come back and I'd help do consulting and stuff at manage restaurants, that kind of thing. And during, and I guess it was in about 2018 that I was offered partnership in a restaurant in a big city in Stamford, Connecticut, which is also right outside New York City. And I was there for the better part of, I had started there previously. I was there probably 8 years. And then during COVID, I sold my shares, thinking I was getting out of the restaurant business. And then a buddy of mine, Joe, who Zach and I operate two of his very large, successful enterprises here outside in the New York City area, said, asked for some help to come back and get everything open again. So I went back and helped him. That's how I met Zach. We came in as a team, and collectively we've been operating two of his most successful businesses, probably valued at about 8 or 9 million. And we do that full time, and we do this full time. So I speak often about passion, and I speak often about, we have so much passion in this project. I mean, we don't stop. We're up 24 hours a day. I'm sure people can see me all over Telegram all the time, making various videos, showing my face. We're docked, KYC'd, all that stuff. So I'm sure the passion, people can feel it, I'm hoping. And I always like to point out that if we're able to run two very successful $8 million restaurants, imagine what we could do when the business is actually for ourselves. So that's a little bit about me and where I came from. Do you have any questions in addition to that?
Appreciate it. So what was the motivation of starting the project? I mean, what were you thinking while you were planning to start this project?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. So, Zach and I, one of the things we quickly realized is that we're 24-hour guys, right? So we love high energy. I mean, I think just being outside New York City, it's just, we operate at a faster pace. Even my wife's family's from the Midwest, and it's amazing how just much slower they take life. And so anyways, we're used to going 24/7. It's just kind of who we are. And I think that's what attracted us to crypto, is the intensity. We just love it. So when we both realized we had passion for crypto, because I had said, I had been trading for the last 20 years, just regular equity. But when we realized we had this passion for crypto, we saw an opportunity, but we also said to ourselves, okay, look, could we do this? Could we have our own? There's a lot of good projects out there, but I feel like, perhaps we could fill a void. And then if we were to fill that void, what do we both have mutual passion in? Because in order for this to be successful, or anything for that matter, it comes from passion first. So if you don't have passion in it, it's essentially, your brain's going to tell you don't want to do it anymore. It's just human nature. So the first thing was we had to identify was, can we do this, and what would it take? What would that look like? And number two, if and when we choose to do this, what's that passion that we both have in common? So we make sure that we give this, 150% every single day. And we quickly realized that we had a true passion for ancient history, from all over the world. So that's kind of how we decided to, and we started doing more digging, not really pun intended, but and looking into it and seeing that, ancient archaeology, and that's what this project is founded in, has a lot of problems in the fact that they're lacking in plenty of resources that help them get their job done, from university grants to research to just basic everyday needs on expeditions. And we often talk about the fact that, 100 years ago, the big philanthropists were the ones that were helping fund all these huge expeditions that, looking into our origin story and, getting out there at the plateau of Giza and digging and finding all these cool things in every really ancient site around the world. And the money is drying up because these, the philanthropists of modern day, your Jeff Bezos and your Elon Musk and your Richard Branson and such, they're more interested in going to space. So with that is that gap, that void that we're trying to fill, where all these people are out there doing the good work, working with universities, getting grants, out there working in the field every day, needing supplies because they're, our origin story is so important to us. We know, humans have been on this planet for 300,000 years, yet we know roughly about 6% of our history, because that's what's been written. And history is always written by the winners anyways, right? So there's a serious void. There's so much out there for us more to learn about our species. So we designed this project as a high mission project where, how could we use blockchain to do good in the world? How could we use blockchain to create a vehicle to help fund all these things, this need that these people out there doing the good fight, trying to help us rewrite our story, trying to help us find more answers about who and where we came from. So the mission of this project was founded in a high mission to help those in need. Then it became putting the pieces together to make it
snowballed from there. It certainly snowballed from there. Jared, do you mind if I jump in and add a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Awesome, because that was a great introduction of the mission. Our mission truly is at a high level. Let's build a vehicle by which we can execute donation on a large scale. There is a significant need within a community that we, have a passion for. And that is where we found our roots for this project. Now, in terms of how we're executing that passion and how we're executing, this vehicle, that then becomes a different story as to its development. We have certainly evolved over time. I think everybody can agree market conditions have changed considerably in the last year and a half. And when we first started this project, what we understood to be an MVP, or a minimum viable product for this market, was a lot lower a bar, a lot lower a level than what we are currently working with and working on delivering. The space has changed, but we ourselves have also changed. We know that there is a lot going on in terms of development. Like Jared had mentioned, there is a 24-hour market moving. The development side of things is just as fast. And there is a lot by way of extra tech solution coming out almost every day. So what we've been doing is we've been slowly integrating a lot of these new solutions, like a fiat on-ramp that makes it really, really easy to use a credit card in a web application. Those types of things have become more commonplace and immediately remove barriers for consumers. So in terms of how we then think about defining our own MVP and integrating a lot of those in, we have over time changed our concept. What we are now looking at delivering is something we've actually been working on for, and developing for maybe just a couple of months. And this project is over a year old. And that Jared and I, when we first put our heads together, we first figured out where our passion was and where the intersection of that passion and, what we might be able to do in blockchain was. That was a year plus ago when we did that. And we put together a white paper. and we conceptualized, a 2-token system. We actually at this point are likely not doing a pure 2-token system. There's going to be an in-game currency similar to what you would see in a Clash of Clans or even a Pokemon Go, some kind of a fiat currency of sorts, with zero monetary value outside of the ecosystem, but with a whole bunch of intrinsic value tied to the actual value to the gamers. What it is we're looking at developing right now, and what it is we are developing actually, is a gaming platform. We had initially put together an alpha and a beta for a endless runner. And there are a number of trailers that we've put together. You can check those out on our website, and we are certainly still working on that. But we know that graphics have come a long way. And in terms of gameplay and user experience, we're prioritizing that more than we did at the beginning of this project. And so we've kind of pushed that off a little bit, knowing that the development for that specific game would require more than what we have currently. So in terms of what we're now looking at delivering, we're going to be working on a web application. It'll render very well on mobile, and we're going to be putting together a series of trivia games that will be paying out via micro rewards, via prize pools, via engagement rewards as well, that are linked up with a set of dynamic NFTs that will grow and, will change over time. And that concept is something that we're developing currently. I can't wait to talk more about it. I don't want to get too lost in the sauce right now. But to answer the overall question here, which is, when did you get this started and what is the inception? Well, it has not stopped developing. It has not stopped changing and morphing. We take feedback and we move on it when we find it actionable. So there has been quite a bit of genesis to this project. And even within the last couple of months, we have found it really necessary to redefine the terms of our initial offering. We want to make sure that the value that we offer to the market matches the proposition. Gone are the days of speculation, and in are the days of real utility. So that is what we're working on most delivering now. And that's why I can't necessarily give you a super tangible answer on that first question, but I hope it's as clear as I can be. That said, Jared, anything else for you to jump in and add there, my friend?
No, that was great. Other than just the fact that, since the market changed, the days of, tokens or coins, whichever they are, just saying, getting in and then promising that stuff is coming after they have the funding necessary. Those days are kind of over. People's attention span are limited, and their trust sometimes, it's less than perhaps it used to be. So you really have to, and one of the things we've been focusing on is you got to bring something to the table right out of the gate, that adds immediate utility, but also is designed to suppress selling pressure. And in there, I think, is where Zach and I have been really taking our time and working with some tremendous people to make sure that this project is self-sustainable, right? It's an ecosystem that, feeds off itself. There's a game loop that circles around and around and around. So it sustains itself. Because in there is where the utilities, and in there is where the selling pressure is going to be contained. We understand people buy and sell tokens. Sure, we get it. But everything we've done is to encourage holding. And this game is certainly going to do that. And, we're really excited because we're getting really close. Anything, Zach? Zach's been really the work he's been putting in behind the scenes. I know I tend to get on and chat more with the community because, man, he's putting in hours into this. I can't wait to show you what he has coming.
Well, that said, let's talk about it a little bit, because I am really excited to kind of start releasing some more and more detail about what it is we've been working on and how we're now looking to move forward. What we've decided
let me just add one quick thing, Zach.
Go ahead.
I know I made an announcement. So what's exciting about this AMA in particular, and I think anyone can agree, you'll see that I get hundreds and hundreds of AMA requests per day. I think I have like 1,800 in my inbox right now, so I can't get to them all. But what I'm excited about is today is the first time that we're actually going to be able to talk about this game, because we're that far along. When you're choosing to do AMAs, you also want to have something that you can talk about, you want to bring to the table and add value. So, congratulations, Crypto Power, and the fact that this is the first time really anyone's hearing about what we have coming down. So that's all I wanted to add.
And thank
I'm
you
happy
for
talking
having us
about
today.
that.
Very, very grateful.
Thank you so much. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so partnerships are a very important factor for every project. So, who is your partner and what are benefits you get from those relationships?
Awesome. That's actually a perfect segue into what it is I was looking to talk about next. Our primary partners are two. We do have a small team that we've put together, dedicated people that are invested in the project. They are essential in a number of ways. We do have a in-house Solidity coder. We do have a couple of other young men that are working with us on a couple of different verticals, but our primary partners are two. We have Kryptonite Marketing, based here in the United States, a couple of lovely ladies with a team of their own as well. They are rather reputable and have been working with a number of good projects over the last, year and a half to 2 years. They've started building out some partnerships of their own. They're involved with DTC Group. What else? They're Pink Sale partners. They're a couple of, big heavy hitters to an extent, in terms of their own partnerships. And they have been essential to us over the last, month and a half to 2 months. They're excellent. Check them out. We'll be happy to drop some links if people are interested. But they have been adding value all over the place. And, we are looking forward to kind of working with them more as we start to roll out more and more of our marketing initiatives. But in the short term, they act as, consultants. They do some of the legwork for us. One of the devs on that team has actually essentially become a team member of ours in the design side. So we have value being added all over the place from them. Our second partner, though, is Tony Drummond. We've brought him on as a business consultant, and his consulting firm, Moonbound, is doing rather well. As young as it is, he's killing it. He is the gentleman who founded and acted as CEO and CTO simultaneously of the MicroPets project from start to near completion, near finish over the last year and a half or so. He's taken a bit of a step back from the project currently, but he is the founder and CEO of that project. And he's now working in a consulting capacity with us. He has been instrumental in kind of cutting down our operational pursuit and really, condensing things into a focus. And that then, is kind of perfect as far as a segue into what it is he's really helped us do, which is narrow our focus on the problem that we're solving. So what it is that we initially did a year plus ago, when we really put our heads around the passion, and we figured out where it was that we would look to make an impact and identify a need at a high level that we were looking to really, really impact. But on a low level, how is it that we're going to deliver these revenue streams that will act as the donation arms? They are essential. We need to make sure that revenue is coming in. Otherwise, nobody's going to believe that we can actually execute the donations that we say we can. They're not going to believe in its sustainability. They're not going to, believe in lots of things. We have to prove ourselves in a number of ways. So how is it that we then identify the problem to consumers that we will be solving in order to provide a revenue source? And the problem that we identified was in gaming. We found that a lot of our demographic, a lot of, who might be attracted to this type of a project with the altruistic roots, the, kind of focus on history, even, there are a number of different attributes to this project that, essentially push us towards a certain KPI model, a certain understanding of our demographics, and a certain understanding of our consumers. And gaming really looked attractive to us for a number of reasons. One, there's a ton of VC money being poured into it right now. Two, there isn't much in the space that is actually working. Three, there isn't much variety in the space that is actually working. And so we decided to kind of look at why, and we identified a few problems. The first is sustainability. And, the problem being that many employ Ponzi-nomics. I think it's just that simple. They don't have their game economies in good hand. They don't have their token economies in hand. They have trouble managing liquidity. They have trouble managing buying and sell pressure. There has not necessarily been a great model introduced on blockchain gaming as far as insulating a token from, say, sell pressure, or insulating a consumer on the gaming end from, say, a volatile token price. Unfortunately, it is the case that in many play-to-earn games, which play-to-earn is the concept of choice right now, it's the model of choice. In many of those models, it is the case that you will have to take profits in either NFTs or in the native tokens of that ecosystem, which you then have to sell. And what does that do to the price? It creates a sell pressure on that price. And it's difficult to maintain and manage at that point. Liquidity, difficult to maintain and manage expectation, difficult to manage profit, at which point you have a lot of fickle users. What it is that we think is going to proliferate in the space going forward over the next couple of years is going to be a series of projects that aim their sights at the gamers. It's not those who are in it for profits. It is in those who are in it for, maybe building out a collection of NFTs, maybe earning some crypto that might appreciate in value over time. But mostly it's gaming and having fun and getting to learn a little bit, maybe getting to, engage a little bit, but find something fun. Find something that's going to hold attention. Find something that is, like any other app, worth the time to an extent. Any other game has to be worth the time investment. If it's not fun, people aren't going to play it. That's going to be the focus going forward. And in terms of building sustainable models, you need to prioritize higher quality UI, UX, and gaming experience. You need, an attention on fees as well. So what kinds of networks are you interacting with? How do you, say, insulate your consumer from too much by way of fees, too much by way of, wait time, or, scalability even, becomes an issue. So it is the case that we look, at these problems and we don't see sustainability, and we know that we can build something and deliver something better. So that's what we're doing. And that's what we have been working on developing for the last 2 months or so. And that is mostly where Tony has added value and has, been helping us stay focused and organized. He has a Rolodex of community members as well. He's quite the leverage. So he does add a ton of value in terms of connecting us with individuals that can add value in ways that maybe he can't as well. But yeah, Jared, anything else you wanted to add on that front?
And I'll just add something, and I think it's probably going to be one of the questions later, but we can also repeat it. But what I think it's important to mention too is, Zach and I are big in doing our due diligence and doing a ton of research and making sure we find the right people to help us along the way. The keys to leadership is, knowing your limitations and finding the right people to help you achieve your goals, right? Can't do everything. So with Tony, that struck us right off we interviewed so many different marketing companies and found ourselves at Kryptonite. We interviewed several other people, to help us navigate. But with Tony, what immediately stood out was, a lot of these companies, be it advisory or marketing, they kind of tell you what they think they can do for you or what they've done for other projects, what they've seen work. But Tony actually did it himself. It's very rare that you actually can team up and partner with someone that took a project like he did and took it from a 500 to a 200 million market cap in 3 weeks. He lived it. He breathed it. He was a dev on one of the largest projects at the time. he made mistakes along the way too, and he learned from those mistakes, and now he can help us navigate so that we're setting ourselves up for success in that our project is going to bypass perhaps those mistakes because of his experience. And so, that alone is priceless. And we're so fortunate to have someone that's actually on our team now that's done it before to that level of success, because he's helped us navigate. And just the sheer, money alone that we've saved, because because he knows what works, what doesn't work, or at least what worked for him, and the right people to talk to. If we need this, we has an immediate contact. We don't have to search and hope that people are going to do the right thing by us. We don't need any of that. We get direct contact to who we need to talk to immediately. Done deal. So it saves us a ton of time, but it also adds tremendous value, because we know the people that we're going to work with have also done this before with him. So, and they trust him. So we've been so fortunate, frankly, lucky that we stumbled upon him. And we work with him now 3 times a week. And, he's essentially a part of the team,
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I guess the next thing I'd kind of like to talk about then is how it is that we're delivering our solution. How is it that we are kind of building our own sustainable game token economy? How are we going to be, kind of adding in our own compelling gameplay? What is it that we're paying attention to? With regard to the stable economy, first and foremost, I want to be clear. We will be selling NFTs at the outset of this project. When we do a public token sale, we will also be doing a whitelist event as well as a future sale of NFTs and a near immediate rollout of this gaming platform. And those NFTs will be sold for Ethereum. So every future collection will be sold for Ethereum. What that does is it insulates our company from sell pressure on our own token in terms of generating revenue. One of the most important things that we realized over the last couple of months when we were identifying what our competition is doing wrong, it's that they have a difficult time making money. And it's really hard to sustain. You need at that point round after round of investment, and your limited runway. You're not necessarily generating money that is going to sustain overhead or operating expenses. So what it is we're looking to do by selling our primary asset to the ecosystem, which is a series of dynamic NFTs that will turn into pharaohs and then gods. They start as sarcophagi, they then change into mummies, then pharaohs, and then gods, all via gameplay. What it is we are going to be, really, really looking to do is build out a model by which we can sell those and have a value tied to a gaming ecosystem intrinsic to these NFTs. These NFTs will then be sold in Ethereum, which our company will be able to use for operating expenses and our budget. It will, when we sell those, Ethereums, that Ethereum, it will not affect our token price. And all of the Two Lands token that pours into this gaming ecosystem will come in via this fiat on-ramp, and it will be exchanged for an in-game currency that has zero monetary value outside of the ecosystem. And what that will also do is close a loop for us in that Two Lands token will benefit from the sale of these consumables, these durables, these in-game and in-environment, in-ecosystem environment, based items. Those will all pump price of TLT, but there will be no way to necessarily exchange those in-game profits directly for Two Lands token. You'll be able to instead use those in-game profits, which will come in the form of this fiat currency, in order to engage in more gameplay. You'll be engaging in raffles. There are tons of prizes that we have worked out, and we'll be doing giveaways. We'll be doing, honestly, cash. We'll be doing other cryptocurrencies, and if you care to diversify your portfolio, we'll be, doing BNB. There will be, Tether up for grabs. We're doing essentially a series of prizes where people can, and our investors, our gamers can think, we can take profits in additional ways, but it creates no selling pressure on our token. What it is we're also doing is we're building with really low maintenance infrastructure and a bunch of these Web3 solutions. New wallets have proliferated. We're using the 1155D NFT standard. We are, not really operating with any of these legacy system issues. There will be, essentially a real attention paid to the user experience. And we're going to be integrating tech solutions that will insulate them from the traditional barriers to entry in blockchain gaming. There are, lots of issues a lot of the time. People are often, finding it difficult to get the profile made, get the wallet connected and integrated, move from DApp to DApp, transfer, tokens all over the place in order to take profits. That becomes a bit of a rigmarole for many. And it is a significant barrier to entry when we're talking about a broad gaming market. And when mass adoption, we now have 1 billion crypto users. There is a reason why 49, 50, 51% at times of all on-chain transactions or just all on-chain activity is represented by GameFi. And yet we're not capturing anywhere near the revenues or the audience that we know we can. The global gaming industry, just mobile alone, raked in over 130 billion last year. By comparison, the revenues in the blockchain gaming community total just a couple of $1 billion. And we have a market cap right now sitting around 25 estimated, depending on how you define GameFi. But it is the case that we have tens of billions in value. We have tens of billions more in potential value, and the revenues are not there yet. The reason being, a lot of it is tied intrinsically to a token value. If you have, this ecosystem built around these tokens, it becomes difficult to maintain those volatile prices. You have all of these issues with liquidity too. It's just a mess. So what we're essentially doing, different from everybody else, or at least, most, is we're going to be focusing on making sure that the token is insulated from the gaming side of things. And the price especially is insulated from the gaming side. In that sense, I want it to be, very clear. Our priority is managing buy and sell pressure, helping our investors in TLT to see the game and see the future games and all of that that side of the ecosystem as nothing but a benefit to Two Lands and a benefit to them. And part of how we've done that is this in-game currency. We're closing the loop, all staking rewards for the NFTs that, we're talking about, these pharaohs that turn into gods. You'll be able to stake them. You'll be able to level them up. You'll be able to build your own pyramids if they're of rare or legendary class. You'll then be able to ascend to god status and receive a unique and very, rare, special god NFT that grants all kinds of additional rewards and benefits. And each of these pharaohs will have rewards, benefits, and those levels will come with different tier rewards. There's all kinds of cool stuff getting rolled out with these. That value to our Two Lands holder is tremendous because of the fact that we'll have minimum payouts for all of these games, and there is intrinsic value in that series of sales and games. What that means to our Two Lands investor is that their buying power in that ecosystem goes up over time as the token price goes up as well. So if we are successful in selling our NFTs, which now becomes a significant focus, we are capable then of driving users into these games, which then will create value intrinsic to our ecosystem will also be generating what will likely be at least a few buys consistently of our Two Lands token, while at the same time limiting our sell pressure and creating additional value as the token price goes up for all of our early investors. Because if you think about it, Two Lands being exchanged at a set rate. So Two Lands price is volatile, but there is a conversion. There is, for this in-game currency, a conversion at, say, half a cent US dollars. Half a cent would, essentially be the conversion rate. And if you kind of keep that stable and you have a rising token value on the other side, your buying power against it goes up considerably over time. And that's what we really want to focus on, is driving that value towards our investors, driving that value towards the ecosystem consistently, and really focusing on keeping things as beautiful and aesthetically pleasing as possible, as compelling a gameplay as possible. The user experience becomes the priority, and the investor experience becomes the priority at that point. So we're going to be going with super high quality, kind of professionally designed products, as opposed to what it is we're seeing on the market right now, which is honestly a little lackluster. It is Axie Infinity having probably some of the better gameplay right now, unfortunately. And it's not great. I think we can all agree it's not really that fun. There are a number of these new RPGs that are coming out. Unreal Engine 5 is starting to proliferate in the space. People are using it more and more. It's really producing some high quality products. You look at Illuvium's success. Part of the reason for that is because it's gorgeous. The design, the user experience, and the gaming experience is unparalleled in the space right now. There's a reason why their focus on that UI UX, on that beautifully delivered project and beautifully delivered product is truly a core of their success right now. And that's what we're looking to integrate with ours. Jared, anything you care to kind of offer at that?
Not really. That's the long and short of it. And that's just this one game we intend to do. Like, Zach had said, we have endless runner that, that you can watch that trailer on, and that's coming down the road as well. But we've already been able to play it on our phones, and we're going to make some changes to that as well. But, and again, we have a charitable arm to this project called the Everdeen Initiative, where we're going to, basically our goal was to find as many different revenue streams to help our large mission, right? So in there, and that's part of the reason why this project, we've taken our time with it, because we want to make sure we do it right, because these market conditions are ever changing. And I think now, for the first time in a long while, is we're starting to see a little bit of excitement again. And as Ethereum goes up, well, naturally, we tend to ride the wave with it. So that's why we've been so careful and so thoughtful, and postponed our launch date. And we still don't have a definitive launch date, because we're watching and we're making sure, and we're talking to various launch pads and even various exchanges for perhaps an IEO. But we're going to be very thoughtful and very, very careful with who we choose to partner with, to make sure that our investors, we're putting them first. So that's pretty much all I need to say on that.
Yeah, and our focus is on delivering as gorgeous a product as possible. We want to prioritize gaming experience and the users, and we want to try and attract true gamers. We find them to be a much more resilient class of investor than, say, a traditional retail investor. They're not looking for profit. They are, again, a different class. It is the case that, we watch in the US, there is a average spend. Millennials actually even represent a massive part of this movement. But $100 billion a year goes into mobile gaming. I believe it actually topped out at 92 last year, which was a bit of a dip, but pandemic was huge for mobile gaming. It exploded. And there is, a massive contingent of mobile gamers that spend, extensive time, but also extensive monies inside games. In-app purchases represent about 60% of all app purchasing. That is significant. And when you then pair that against mobile gaming, raking in about 130 globally last year, 130 billion, it is a significant market opportunity. So we like our chances against this competitive landscape. There are, like Axie Infinity, like Farming World, Mobox, Alien Worlds, all of these, they're doing well. There are some significant projects out there. There are some really, really high quality product. Mobox is a high quality product, but what it is they don't really have right now is engaging gameplay. And what it is they don't really have are low barriers to entry and exit. It is, somewhat difficult to get involved as a general retail investor, as a generalized gamer, as somebody who maybe doesn't have a ton of crypto experience, but has a ton of gaming experience and say an interest in crypto. It is the case that we see statistics pop out, like in 2018, I believe there was a survey done that indicated around 50% of all millennial gamers own crypto. And yet 5% of the broad millennial market owns crypto. That disparity is significant. And even if it's, somewhat skewed by a limited survey, it is something that we can take a lot of information from. That landscape has changed, in the last couple of years, but it is the case that more people have flooded into it. We've watched, multiple hundreds of thousands of active wallets, even still, sustaining during this difficult market time right now. But we peaked at, I think it was 1.4 million unique active wallets operating, and engaging with on-chain dApps and smart contracts. I believe that there are also hundreds of thousands of additional daily users of, say, an Alien Worlds or a Splinterlands. Crazy Defense Heroes, to an extent, even becomes a part of that conversation. You have hundreds of thousands of active daily users that don't necessarily regularly activate the dApp or engage with the smart contracts. And so they're not necessarily counted among those 1.4 million. And so we have a significant target market that is only growing. It's burgeoning. And, it is a great opportunity. And we, think that against this competitive landscape, we can make an impact. Most games, they'll have a couple of these keys, but they don't have all of them. If they have, say, pure asset management, they allow for profits to be taken via proxy asset. They have strong UI. They likely then don't have great barriers for exit. If it is the case that you're dealing with high fees every time, like in Farmer's World, you have to mint an NFT to do something, it becomes a little bit of a barrier. And we want to remove those barriers from our gameplay. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're creating a web-based, first, it'll render well on mobile. We're going to be rolling out a mobile application further down the road that will be getting onto Google Play and the App Store. And that too actually is something that Tony at Moonbound is going to be instrumental in helping with.
That's exactly what I was going to add. I think a lot of these projects, they build out their entire ecosystem and then they try and get it on Google Play and the App Store, and Apple being a little bit more difficult. But they realize that they didn't set it up correctly, and they come to an impasse because in order to get listed, they have to meet all these requirements that perhaps they didn't know at the time. And that either gives them two things: they have to redo the whole thing, or they just can't get on Apple Store. So, we're fortunate in that Tony already did it with MicroPet, so we know exactly what we need to do. So we can set this thing up so we can do an immediate rollout. I mean, we're so fortunate. And same with Glenn, our unit, the guy who did our NS Renner, who's essentially a team member. That's what he does. He gets games on the App Store all the time. So we're fortunate to have the right people in place to make these transitions seamless.
Absolutely. And our game core loop is simplified now. It is not the case that when you're looking at our game core loop, It is involving our token. Our game core loop actually just involves that in-game currency. And essentially what it is you collect some EXP, you use it to train and build with your pharaohs, which allows you to then collect better rewards and prizes, which then allows you to collect more EXP. And collecting that EXP will also allow you to play those games and engage in those games and earn more EXP, which then allow you to claim more rewards and prizes or train and build more. It's that simple. And there is a constant flow and circulation. We have done, all kinds of statistical modeling, and we've run, a number of simulations. We're building out what we believe to be a truly sustainable game economy. And it is the case that we are able to roll out micro engagements. People will be able to do all kinds of, daily check-ins, daily engagements, little micro engagements that pay out little bits. And over time, you can view this as kind of a grind or a mine economy to an extent. But, excuse me, but it is also the case that you'll be able to reinvest that profit, so to speak, into your asset itself. So our Pharaoh will be upgradable in a number of ways. We've built out a leveling concept that allows for you to essentially upgrade your Pharaoh and its bonus features and rewards within our ecosystem by pouring some of that collected EXP is essentially how you can think of it. It's an experience point, or it's a training points, system. And you're over time progressing through a level progression, and you are achieving different tiers of bonuses and rewards. You're also able to, with that experience point, build pyramids for your pharaohs. And when you complete a pyramid with your rare or legendary pharaoh, you're able to ascend to god status. And so we've placed a number of carrots at the end of sticks. We're working on really making sure that there is a value proposition to just about every user. And we want it to be the case that people can view their assets within our ecosystem, or at least these Pharaoh NFTs, as more a store of value, a store of their time, effort, money, whatever it is they're pouring into this game to engage with their Pharaoh and store up that value. The way we conceptualize it is there will be a floor price that we maintain rather low for our NFTs. But as people engage in gameplay over time and upgrade their pharaohs, and those go back onto the marketplace, they will be worth more. And it will be the case that people will assess that value based on the intrinsic that they assess to our ecosystem, which, if it is the case that we are able to sustain these rewards and prizes, there is value offered to them. They then are able to buy this pharaoh at level 60 that allows for a lot more bonus, reward, gameplay, all kinds of stuff. And they're looking at that as a bonus, a premium against our initial offering. So it holds our floor price incredibly stable, and it creates a secondary market based upon a intrinsic value, a store of value associated with time, energy, money, and perhaps, pride. In that way, I think we're offering a little bit different a product than our competitors, in that there are certainly NFTs that you can go and find in alien worlds. There are certainly NFTs that spawn out of Axie. You can breed more Axies. That's honestly a problem for them. They have trouble with the management of their SLP, and we've watched that price crash for a reason. But you've watched as these other projects, they deliver value by allowing, for the production or the finding of future of more NFTs that give value to the consumer. But what we're allowing for people to do, instead of then taking those NFTs and turning around and selling them, we're encouraging them to invest in them, to see them as more of a play to hold, as a play to earn goes. It's more of a, let me, play and earn, or play and hold and earn, as opposed to, again, that play to earn. And we're, again, incentivizing a different class of investor, a different class of gamer. How we will be delivering this is going to be, aesthetically pleasing. It's going to be gorgeous, but it will have certain elements somewhat similar to, say, Pokemon, where you're able to level up your Pokemon and your team and grow with them through a game, through a series of games. And that's our vision for this. We'll be delivering our first 3 games in a trivia-based format. One, because we love trivia and we're big on history. And that is a big part of our brand. And we want it to be the case that people want to learn and want to engage. And we want to encourage that in every way we can. So our first product is going to be trivia. It is also a lot easier to deliver in terms of gameplay. Lower cost, addictive, and easily modeled after that which we know to already be successful.
And there's not a lot of competition in the space as well.
Agreed. And the future games, we're looking to roll out puzzles of all kinds. We love that as a next step. And we do have our eyes on future collections of NFTs. Absolutely.
I was just going to say, just before you ask us some questions, we're kind of being dubbed the Indiana Jones meets the Da Vinci Code of crypto, in that we love puzzles, we love hieroglyphs, we love cryptics, and all that really cool things that make some of those movies so successful, because people just naturally like that kind of thing. So we're going to be integrating that into a lot of our marketing, and we already have. So there'll be hidden Easter eggs all throughout everything. So definitely keep your eyes peeled, because there's already hidden Easter eggs in everything from day one. So we have a lot of fun with that. So definitely keep your eyes open in that regard, because there will be something down the pike. And I'm not going to talk about it, but it will be tremendous in the crypto space. And the people that are here from day one, might have the best advantage. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice teaser there, my friend. Not to mention, the earlier you get in, again, the higher your buying power will be further down the road with regard to all of these games that we'll be rolling out. All of that, is going to provide some significant value, I think, to our early investors. And I'm really looking forward to getting some more feedback from people as we roll out more of the visuals. That first and foremost is going to be integral. And we're going to have to rely on a lot of our community feedback to make sure that the product matches the vision. So our vision being really fun, really dynamic, really easy to use, and very, very few barriers. Number of them removed almost entirely from the equation. The first one being wallet setup. We're going to make that integration ridiculously simple. Second is the in-app purchasing. We're going to make that ridiculously simple, and we're going to bypass our Google Play and app fees in a lot of ways by insulating ourselves and selling these NFTs in Ethereum. We're able to take those revenues. We're selling them in a secondary market outside of, say, the game. That is a separate marketplace. So it's a secondary market away from, the Google and the app and the Mac, or the Apples. But what we're also, going to be insulating them from is the need to top up constantly. We're going to encourage them to, maybe check in on that back end, that blockchain back end, check in with their collection, check in with, the sales, what the marketplace is moving like, and maybe top up their supply of in-game currency once a week, once a month, perhaps. And it will be an integration such that it's 1 click, 2 clicks, perhaps, like an Apple Pay. And those solutions are there. They've proliferated in the last year, all over the place. And we're able to now, utilize those to really make sure that the gaming experience is just seamless. So that is kind of the focus right now, is that ongoing development. I would like to quickly talk about the token that we are selling as well, because this game is certainly a part of that value proposition. But it is also the case that we're selling the token independently. That is the public sale that we'll be going into likely within the next couple of months. We are seeking some VC money first. So we're putting together a lot of these materials as we speak. And these are kind of preliminary AMAs that we're doing just to engage with the community a little bit, build a little bit, form some relationships, get better at talking about these things. But yeah, Jared, were you hopping in there?
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So when
I'm
a
sure you have a
project
question.
reaches, yeah, when a project reaches its own destination, many hackers use hacking to destroy the project. And how faithfully can we join your platform, and how safe is our fund here? And where can we find more information about Two Lands? I mean, what are your socials?
Sure. Well, our website is twolandstoken.com, and in there is a link to all our various socials. Also, throughout, and I can post it today, but our link tree has everything you could possibly need. In regards to safety, back in April, we did an audit with Seifu. We did our KYC with them, and we scored in their top 1% of projects that they had done. Our burns, we actually worked with a company out of Ukraine called Red Duck, and those will be automated as well via smart contracts, and those will be audited as well. So, safety is our number one priority, and we're also fortunate to have Tony again from MicroPets and all the different safety measures he's put into his to protect that project, because I think the level of hackers, I forgot the exact number. What do you say, Zach? Like 72 or something like that.
Well,
so he knows
those are also snipers. I mean, we have our eyes on hackers, but also snipers in the public sale. There are lots of bad actors in the space. There are ambulance chasers, essentially, that will, chase liquidity events. And if they know that, say, there's a cliff coming and a whole bunch of vesting is about to take effect, they will manipulate your token price before and after. And they will rip your profits and your liquidity right out from under you. What it is we like to do is little things like, get creative with, say, our community and the public sale release. We'll tell everybody in the public sale that, hey, we are releasing at 3 minutes past. Nobody is allowed to buy. Nobody can buy for the first 3 minutes. And we lock it. And we essentially make it such that the advertised time is 3 minutes before, but we make our community extremely aware of the fact that it is 3 minutes after. And we can then target those who target our contract during that time. It is, pretty easy to kind of determine when you're just watching the blockchain activity. There are tons of these guys. Tony had sniped about, I think it was 45 or 50 different wallets that were attacking his public sale right out of the gate. So in that way, we can kind of insulate ourselves a little bit. Second thing I would like to mention, though, is bounty program. Bounties are fabulous. We love the idea of leveraging our community into more security. Let's all take a more active, ownership role in that. We all can kind of look at this as investment opportunity. Let's protect our investment. Let's keep an eye out for some of these bad actors. Let's, keep an eye out for anything and everything. And we will be, actively rewarding those who bring us good information, but also identify, gaps, issues. There are going to be a number, I'm sure, in, a limited capacity. I can tell you our contracts are extremely safe and secure. We are getting those more comprehensively audited as well before they're, officially deployed. We've done a number of preliminary audits that have come back and scored very well, but it is the case that we do our due diligence, and we'll be doing that, twice, 3 times over in order to really ensure that what we do deploy is going to treat our investors with kindness. And it's going to limit our exposure to, say, hacks. There are plenty of them. And, we watched as, say, Axie Infinity lost $600 million. to a hack on Ronin that suspended their network for, weeks. That's difficult to watch. And unfortunately, it is the case that, anybody operating on Ronin at that time was adversely affected. So I do want to be clear, we need to manage expectation there as well. It is the case that we're working in a relatively unregulated space, and we're investing in a relatively volatile space. It is a risk. And so we want everybody to be as aware of that risk as possible. And, we'll be as transparent about what it is we're dealing with at any given time. And we'll be, prioritizing our investors and our consumers, our gamers. But I quickly, in that vein, want to mention what we're doing by insulating this game with an in-app currency. What we're doing by that is really insulating our token from, say, attacks on that game. There are, essentially two separate entities at that point. And if any of that in-app currency were to be compromised, it's not worth anything outside of our ecosystem. What is truly valuable is the NFTs. And those assets are yours to own. So they are yours to protect in a number of ways as well. And while we do have, security measures going into our wallet integrations, into, virtually everything that we're doing from the tech side, it is the case that people need to take a certain amount of accountability as well. And, really put some thought into how it is you want to store your assets, where you want to, protect them. There are tons of great products out there. And I'll quickly say, get yourself a ledger. Ledgers are incredible. As far as keeping things offline in cold storage, there are, few better solutions. And we encourage people to kind of get creative with those as well. I think, this crypto winter, in a way, has forced us to consider a lot of these, as important or more important than they were, perhaps. But yeah, that's kind of where I'll leave that. If there were any more specific questions about security, I'd be happy to address them.
We're done with all the questions about introduction. Now let's move toward the Twitter. First question is, Two Lands is a GameFi ecosystem based upon Ethereum blockchain. So what is the reason why Two Lands adopts the use of Ethereum, and what are the benefits of benefiting and investigating ancient archaeological expeditions from around the world and process of use?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jared had touched on this, a little bit earlier, but first and foremost, we know that there are just 6,500 years of recorded history. We really have, we don't have much appreciation or understanding of the rest of it. Humans have been on this planet for significantly longer. And it is the case that about 12,000 years ago, there was a significant event, cataclysmic in the eyes of many ancients, I'm sure. There was a global rising of tides. There was a massive, shift in the biosphere. And what it caused was a whole bunch of history to get lost. The continental shelf alone is worth a lot more of a look than I think we've ever really put into it. We're a lot of the time focused on archaeology above ground, but there is a lot less done below water. So that, first and foremost, is one of the things that really excites us. There's so much out there that we can try and move the needle with, that we can really try and make an impact with. We can bring these really, interesting kind of origin story related pursuits to our community and say, hey, what do we want to invest in? What is it that you guys are interested in finding more out about? Like, how can we really answer some questions? I think we all have a number of questions that we would like answered. And so there is, first and foremost, a lot there. The second question, I think, or the first actually that you had asked, is why Ethereum? Ethereum is super credible, first and foremost. But second, there is no competitor as far as locked value on a network. Zero. No competitor, really. Binance has what, about 6 billion in total locked value estimated. Ethereum has 27 billion dollars of locked value, makes you incredibly stable, incredibly credible. And to be candid, we don't see Vitor as an Elon Musk or as an SBF, excuse me. This is not a whole bunch of kids. It's a network with a lot of value added on top of it, operating with it constantly. And it is the case that, there are billions in transactionary volumes moving on that network almost all the time. So we saw Ethereum as extremely stable as far as a choice goes. We know that, its primary competitor in terms of lock value, in terms of ease of use, even for, say, a gaming offering, Binance Smart Chain is great in a number of ways, but they're also a target of a lot of regulators. They're a target of, and they have, a number of exposures to a lot that Ethereum does not. And they also have exposure to, say, a volatile CEO who hops on Twitter like Elon Musk and, manipulates. That's difficult to watch. We don't necessarily want to be a part of that. So we chose Ethereum for different reasons.
Yeah. I think a lot
Numerous.
of the investors tend to be more liquid as well. They can afford to spend more money.
This is true. Absolutely.
So,
the type of consumer, the retail consumer on an Ethereum network, as opposed to a blockchain like, say, Binance Smart Chain or even Polygon or, Wax to an extent. These are not paid users. These are not people who are used to paying fees or will pay fees in order to achieve what they want. On the Ethereum network, we have those everywhere. Everywhere. But yeah, that's essentially why Ethereum.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. So the second question is, many games do not support mobiles, and that reduces the attraction of many players around the world. Can I play Two Lands token on mobile and on PC? Is there a version of Android and iOS? What does my PC need to be able to play it?
Awesome question. Yeah, so we're actually currently developing that code base, actually. And what we'll be releasing first is going to be web-based. So it'll be, PC gaming, but it will render very, very well on, say, a mobile browser. So you'll be able to navigate through our mobile browser and dApps on your phone very, very easily. That's going to be a really tight focus for us. But there will be a mobile, iOS and Android, rolled out within the first year. That is a promise. Post public sale, we have 1 year timeline set for that at max. We can likely do it much faster than that, though, in that we have our team in place. We have an existing code base that we can draw from. We have, just a need for a budget. And that will, contingent upon public sale, be there.
All right. So should I move towards the next question, or you would like to add some?
Sure, go ahead. We designed it with mobile in mind. So other than that,
Cool. Okay, so third question is, without sufficient funds, each project cannot carry out its construction properly. So for me, the main priority is to have sufficient funds to run a project. Is your team financially able to carry out the project? And how does this project generate revenue for the project and its users?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, you want me to start real quick?
Go ahead, my friend.
One of the things that I want to touch upon that we haven't yet is two things, really. For starters, Zach and I funded this project entirely ourselves, right? So that says two things. Number one, we had enough money to do it. And number two, we were willing to put our money into it because we believe in it. We then executed a private sale. Now, with that, a couple things that I want to mention is when we decided to do a private sale, it was very important for us to do it as if we were just a regular stock being sold on the stock exchange.
We assumed that we were going to be a security. Absolutely.
Yes. So
Bitcoin
with
is
that,
likely the only commodity, my friends.
yep. So that being said, we interviewed a ton of different attorneys, and found a firm that we really liked, and that had significant experience um, bringing IPOs to market, if you will. That said, we treated our token as if it was a regular security, which meant that in conducting what's called the subscription agreement or a private sale agreement, we had to hit a couple of verticals to make sure that it was SEC as compliant as possible. From day one, that was important to us, and I think that ties back into the security. Um, so some of those things was, number one, we couldn't publicly advertise it. It had to be word of mouth only, right? So um, with that, there's also other things. So who'd we go to? Well, we went to our family and friends, and kind of because we had to, right? For a number of reasons, but ultimately, many of them don't even know much about crypto. But what they do know is us as people. And one of the things that we speak about often is you have to trust the team. And that's why I like to go on and speak and put my face out there all the time, because as much as you're investing in a project and a token, you're really investing in the people running it. And if you trust them, well, you trust them the process that they're going to make sure they put their best foot forward in every possible direction they get led. So, another thing to add to that is, in order to carry out the subscription agreement, those investors, those private sale members, those friends and family, and some friends of friends had to meet some requirements. And when you do that, there's something called accredited and non-accredited investors. And to be accredited, which has to be the large majority, essentially means a couple of things. If you're not a corporation or if you're not an LLC, you basically have to have a net worth of $1 million plus, or you have to have an annual salary of 200,000 or 300,000 for 2 or 3 consecutive years. I forget the statistic, but what that basically does for the SEC is it assures them that these folks who have that kind of net worth, or at least salary, can afford to take the risk that could lose everything, right? So one of the other things we wanted to do, and we structured it as, you know, we did 1 billion tokens for $1,000 increments. We also wanted to make sure that we never sold too many tokens to one person, because we didn't want to have one person holding too much of the bag. 8% of our private sale is the project. Of the project, our private sale was 8%. In that, also, we put a vesting schedule in. And Zach likes to speak about this, and I'll let him speak about it too. But the last point I want to make, and before he talks about the vesting, is you have to understand it's our friends and family that invested in this project. You have to understand most of them met that requirement. So, and Zach's going to talk about how we decided to manage the risk involved for not only our family and friends, but in the vesting of that, and how we've set it up and designed it for our friends and family who we want to take care of, to make sure that they cover their risk without sacrificing the integrity of the project, because they're our friends and family, our loved ones, and they believe in us. So in regards to security in the back, to just touch based on that, we're doing everything we possibly can to make this as safe as possible, because it's our friends and family investing in the private sale. And we did it all word of mouth. The raise was $80,000 in a matter of a couple of months, just talking to some friends and family. So we're fortunate in that we have a large network, or I should say a small network, of several high net worth people that believe in us. And that money's just been sitting in the bank account waiting for us to execute for our major marketing campaign. And we're also now seeking VC funding, and we're in the process. We actually spoke to a couple, but we're in the process now of seeking even more revenue, because ultimately what makes these things work is having enough funds to execute when you need.
Yeah, we're building ourselves a runway at the moment. That said, great introduction, and essentially, all I'll add to that about the investor class is that we had to keep the investor pool low. The number of investors is below 30. So in terms of distributing that private sale across our 30 pooled investors, we did limit the impact of any one investor, making there be a cap on any one sale. and there is just one investor at the highest level. But it is the case that we then distributed out across the rest of the sale and across the rest of those investors, the rest of the money. The second thing I'll say is with regard to valuation. When we sold that private sale, it was at a valuation of a fully diluted market cap at $1 million. We kept that low. The offering to the market in public sale will likely be under 5 million. Our target is around 4.5 to 4.7 for a fully diluted market cap upon release. So in terms of circulating supply, and how some like to calculate market cap is circulating supply against token price, we'll have just 40%, roughly 40% in circulation post public sale. That essentially means our circulating market cap is going to be under 2.5 million, hovering just over 2. That should put us in a really, really good position as far as helping people to kind of feel as though, and investors feel as though we have room to grow. That is a low market cap compared to the rest of the field. Our competitive field are, in some cases worth billions, but in many cases worth tens of millions if they can produce a viable product. So contingent upon our successful public sale, we know that we'll be able to release more and more, but we are also coming prior to that. We're coming to market with a viable product that has supported a value proposition of at least a couple $1 million, and there's plenty of room to grow there. Now, with regard to vesting, what it is that we did was, pretty traditional in startups, and honestly now finding its way into token culture as well. We have a cliff built into all of our token vesting. There is a cliff for the team of 18 months. We have full lock for 18 months, bare minimum. My tokens will actually be locked for longer. I can't necessarily speak for my other team members, but I will be locking mine for 2 years, bare minimum. There are also cliffs built into our private sale. There's a 12-month initial cliff of full lock, and part of that is because we needed to be SEC compliant, and there has to be a full lock for 12 months bare minimum. At that 12-month mark, we are incentivizing our private sale investors to hold for longer. They can sign an additional contract for 1 additional year of full lockup in exchange for 10% on their sum. That will be an option given to them. If they choose not to proceed, they can liquidate up to 25% of their holdings at that time or any time after. Then 6 months down the road, at 18 months, we have additional vesting, and from then on, it's a slow release. As a company, we do have a plan to buy back some of our VC. We like the idea of capitalizing on our own supply as much as possible, and part of the game, is how we do that. But we also want to have that built into, say, an exit strategy for any VC money or private sale money that wishes to get out. We are preparing for that, and we are fully aware of that as a potential. So we want to limit as much selling pressure as possible, and we will distribute this vesting across years. All of our investors, being that they are high net worth, that they are accredited, or if they are not accredited, they do have significant crypto experience and are used to the risk and are considerate of the risk. They are a different breed of investors than what we're looking for in a public sale. They are resilient, they are bought in, and they understand the pursuit, the vision, and they understand the timeline being flexible. They have not pressured us through the course of this sale, through this development, through this market condition. They are patient and they are stable. And that's what we really want people to understand and know that we prioritize, and we will continue to prioritize. The vesting is simply an expression of that. So after the 2-year mark is when the vast majority of it goes back onto the open market. And yet at that point, we do believe we'll have significant supply capped already, and we'll have been able to deliver a significant product.
Yeah, and then just to add real quickly, and then we'll get to your other questions, is that, when you have friends and family that have high net worth and they've invested into this project and they've only had, maybe the majority of our private sale were either 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. There's only one person that is above 5,000 with an $8,000 investment. But when you have people that, earn so much money a year and also have or meet the criteria, such high net worth, you know, if they get 20%, or if they liquidate that 25% and they make back 75% of their initial investment, they're just going to let it ride. Why wouldn't they? $1,000, $2,000 is like going out to dinner with their family for a couple nights. So, and they're invested in us. They're our friends and family. So they want to see this project grow. So, I'm confident in the fact that, they're going to make a little something, and then, they're invested in us as people, so they're gonna do right by us. So I'm not even concerned about major liquidation. It's gonna take a long time for them to be able to do it.
Yeah,
anyways.
and that's an excellent point, Jared. Just to add to that a little bit, the idea being that we really want to limit our sell pressure, and what it is we're doing by allowing for that 25% liquidation. If, say, it is a little bit more fickle, a private sale investor who, say, wants to cover a little bit of their risk, they can cover, even if, say, we dip from public sale 50%, they can cover 75% of their risk with that 25% liquidation, at which point they become far less likely to liquidate anything going forward. Like Jared said, they are likeliest to let it ride at that point because it is no loss really to them. It would be a $250 loss, which is a night out with the family here in this area that we live in, actually. So it is fortunate that we have a number of those types of investors. Our primary pool is built of them.
Yeah, and back to what Zach said about investing in our own tokens, real quick, I'll just add, like, if you're the CEO of like Walmart or Verizon, you're not selling the shares of your stock to survive. That's not how this works. Why would you sell your own company? It's insane, right? So one of the things that Zach and I are doing, and we're looking for other revenue sources and developing various different revenue streams outside our token. Even in the gaming business, just alone in the United States alone, and not even crypto related, the gaming industry is huge, and we've actually been in chats with board games and stuff like that. So we're looking for other ways for us as a business to earn revenue to pay ourselves our salaries, so we don't even have to touch the token. That's an afterthought.
Yeah, to be candid, Jared and I, being that we come from, a restaurant-based background, a service background, we're used to dealing with vendors of all kinds. Among those are beer companies, and beer was consumed at very high rates in ancient Egypt. It kind of fits our brand. And we've had a couple of conversations about potentially doing a Two Lands branded beer, some kind of a limited release, to see how it plays. But at the very least, to get some branding out there. And we know that we can get placements in restaurants, in actual businesses. Jared and I know these business owners personally. And so we're able to leverage a lot of that, private interest, a lot of that private Rolodex in a way to kind of build out future partnerships, but also future revenue streams. And that is a focus going forward as well. Yeah.
We view Two Lands as a brand. Period, end of story. The blockchain aspect is just one arm of it. It's a much larger brand. And within that brand, I feel like a lot of tokens lose sight and they get solely focused on, the one vertical. But there's so much more different markets and revenue streams to tap into where income can come in and not only support the project, but support the dev team so they continue to work on the project without actually touching the token or selling.
And without having to take in round after round of VC money. We're not relying on a runway at that point. We are sustainable.
Exactly.
Yep.
I do have about another 20 minutes before I have to hop off and take another meeting. So I apologize. We tend to ramble because we're so passionate about this project. So we normally talk for hours. So I appreciate your time here.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing such great information with us. So let's move towards the third question from Twitter. Fourth question from Twitter, that is, most of the current NFT games are not focused on the player experience. How are Two Lands tokens designed for a really good UX UI experience, and how user-friendly is your system so that the game focuses on the gaming experience without losing the core monetization machine?
Well, I think,
Awesome.
yeah, I think we kind of answered that, but I don't know if that was pretty much the focal tenet of the conversation. Is there anything else you want to add to that? But I think we did a pretty good job of explaining that. It was the central core. Everything we've done is from day one here is to protect our investors. And going into the gaming, it was no different. We designed everything to make it as easy as possible to play, and also protect everyone's investment that is either playing or not playing, right?
Yeah. Well, what I will say about that is we're also going to be paying really close attention to the way that it is designed from a UI UX experience perspective. Things as simple and perhaps minute as making sure that we know most people are right-handed. The vast majority of the actionable buttons during gameplay are going to be easily accessible from both sides with both types of thumbs. But one, button in particular, say a, power up button during gameplay to utilize a power up, it's right there for a right thumb click. Paying attention to those types of details is something that we are acutely aware of, and it is why we have hired the teams that we have. It's why we're paying as close attention during our development to these things as we are. They're wildly important in terms of gameplay. You look at the way that Clash of Clans to an extent, or even the Pokemon Go, the way that these are designed, the way that the in-app experience works for the gamer, it is seamless. It is succinct. It's condensed to a degree where it's extremely palatable, very easy to navigate and intuitive, and the user can move quickly through the game and get to their target destination in a number of different ways. We have, kind of a lot of that, I guess, in mind when it is we're placing, we're making, placements. And I think the other thing I'll mention is the user experience from a psychological perspective. That is truly a focus for us as well. We want to make sure this is compelling gameplay, that this is addictive. It's fun. It's something that people can enjoy doing for 20 minutes, for an hour, a day, if they really care to, and, give us some engagement, but also give themselves a little something. They can earn some rewards, but they can also maybe learn a little something. They can play an addictive game and potentially add some value and use their NFTs as a store of that value, of that time, of that effort.
Yeah. So basically what, in a nutshell, we've done is everything with intention. We've studied some of the most popular games and what makes them so popular. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. There's a lot of things, essentially from what he was saying, to where buttons are located on a phone, to how there's various different payouts at certain, certain levels in the game or what have you. There's so
intermittent
much
rewarding systems, semi-regular, but also semi-randomized reward systems. There are a number of different ways that we're looking to keep our user base engaged.
Mm-hmm. And they're so important, and I sometimes think they get overlooked.
All right.
Yeah. Should I move towards the last question?
Yes.
Yeah, because I would like to get to the community questions as well. And I know Jared has limited time here.
Yeah, sure. The last question is of Twitter. Twitter, and after that we will pick
Great.
some community questions. Okay. So
Absolutely.
the last question is, given that Two Land still has small following on Twitter and other social networks. So could you tell us about the marketing strategies you expect to use to boost your growth on this and other major social
Sure.
networks such as Telegram, Instagram, and Facebook?
Great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I will say first and foremost, we're small community right now by design. We did not want to introduce too many undesirable factors and variables too early. We wanted to stay focused and stay, really tight on development. And we honestly also just know that some of what it is that we were developing early on is going to change and has changed. And so we're working on making sure what it is we're developing right now is buttoned up to a degree that we feel comfortable presenting it, and we want it to be known. You know, it is certainly a by design, type of thing. We are doing these little bits of AMAs. We solicit a lot of great feedback from them. We're building good relationships. There are a lot of, I'm sure of you that are listening that, are here for, say, business related reasons. There's nothing wrong with that. And we actually encourage that. It is difficult to get to everybody. And so that's why we try not to do too much in that regard. And we like to pay personal attention to these types of things. But, in the future, we will be rolling out all kinds of additional marketing initiatives. Shilling contests, first and foremost, are going to be great. We can target tons of really cool people that I think will find this project to be palatable. There are a number of historians, of academics, of people that are really, really credible and incredible people that, they're established in their industries, and they are, very knowledgeable. And they also have Twitter presences. They have, YouTube presences. They have tons of different access points by which we can kind of engage with them. And we're going to leverage our community to do so. That's going to be part of our marketing initiative, is really getting that community engagement going as far as targeting some cool individuals that might add more value to our project and might find our project really value add to them.
Yeah.
We're also going to be, Jared, go ahead, my friend. I know you speak a lot with our marketing company about these types of things.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing. So we're fortunate that we partnered with Kryptonite Marketing, who's just a monster in the space. And they have several other partnerships with DTC as well and various other ones. Point is we've been waiting until the right time to execute our huge marketing campaign. We're going to be everywhere. And like Zach said, we've taken our time doing these AMAs, just growing our community slowly, intentionally, so that when we have everything, then we're ready to do this tremendous campaign. And we have access to anything we need, be it YouTubers, influencers. Just the list goes on and on and on. We'll be able to pick and choose who we want to work with for the most part, when the time is right. And the time is coming soon. I'd like to believe that within the next month or 6 weeks, you'll be starting to see some of these major rollouts regarding our campaign. And then, the goal is Two Lands to be a household name. And I think we have the right partnerships in place and people that actually can get it done for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I have 10 minutes. Sorry.
No problem.
And then, Zach might be able to hang for a few extra minutes, but if I have to dart out in 10, I apologize. But this has been fantastic. Go ahead. Why don't we take some community questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, one last thing I will add. Sorry. Look, if you're a part of our Telegram, you'll notice that I give daily updates, video updates, and I like to engage with the community. I respond back. I'm very active. The other thing, I'd encourage you to follow all their other socials, because I'm very active on Twitter as well, TikTok. But I'd really like you to also join our YouTube. The reason being is I intend to start going live more on YouTube, where I can just kind of go live. We can make an announcement in my Telegram, or our Telegram, I should say. And then all of us, whoever's interested, could hop on for a bit and we can chat and get to know one another, and I can answer any informal questions, or we can just talk about anything. and because I believe in access, I believe we want to earn your trust, and by earning our trust, it's not your trust. It's not necessarily even knowing what we're doing with the project, but just who we are as people. So if you could please join our YouTube, I think that'll be incredible for us to start chatting with each other on a regular basis whenever. It's Two Lands Token official, by the way.
For sharing your socials. So I think you have done with all the information and we should move towards the live segment. Is it? Should we?
Yeah, that
Yes,
sounds great.
please.
You guys have a few seconds to raise your hands. Don't forget.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi there.
Thank you very much for this great opportunity. I wanted to ask, you talked about your NFT being an Egypt god and, pharaohs and all of that.
hmm
So I wanted to know, do we have a percentage that we are supposed to hold for the NFT, or we can just hold as high as the number we want to?
So that was a question about voting. Do you mind clarifying real quick? Just what is the question about voting on future NFTs, or just give me a little
Yeah,
clarity on
because
that if you don't mind.
okay, sorry. Most times when holders get to mint this NFT, they are given governance, voting chance, and all of that. So, is
hmm
there a specific amount that a holder should hold for this NFT to be eligible for voting or making decisions in the community?
Great question. So what it is we're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling out a bunch of these NFTs at price points that are reasonable. They are not going to command, and they're going to be stable. They are not going to be fluctuating in value, too much. We hope we want to maintain a stable floor that is reasonable for the average retail consumer. So first and foremost, we're going to be making sure that it's available. That sale of those NFTs is super available, and the future sale of those NFTs are going to be super available. In terms of ownership, you will have full ownership. We're not fractionalizing these. They may be fractionalized, I guess, on other sites if there are, say, groups that want to own a pharaoh and contribute to it together. That is possible. In terms of what that pharaoh will do for governance vote and what it will allow for in terms of community engagement, it will give you certain access within our gaming ecosystem. It'll give you entries every month that will populate in your wallet for all of those games that you can use. There will be power-ups and bonuses, and there will be a staking model applied as well if you care to exchange custody for some staking rewards. That is all well and good, but it is not necessarily governance vote. What we will essentially be doing with a governance vote, it'll be tied to our Two Lands token. It won't be tied to the NFTs. So I want to be clear about that. Our governance token is what we're selling in our public sale, and that will be Two Lands token. Our NFTs will be purchased with Ethereum and will be integrated into our ecosystem. On the gaming end, they will be collectibles, and they will be likely sold, exchanged, shared in a number of ways, but those don't necessarily come with a governance vote within the larger Two Lands ecosystem. It is going to be the case that Two Lands token is what allows you to have that governance vote. So in terms of executing our donations on a big scale and trying to move the needle on these really cool archaeological projects, the voting on those initiatives will be via Two Lands token.
Correct.
Does that help kind of answer the question? Because I do want it to be the case that, perhaps if we have a real community outcry for governance associated with these NFTs, we could absolutely consider operating those NFTs as, a sort of DAO that in a way, we'll be able to transfer, say, some of the decision making about, say, the next collection to the community, and we could hold votes on what it is we build next. Because Two Lands, as a brand, we've certainly gone with a lot of the ancient Egypt theme, and the the branding is very intrinsic to that area of history. But we are not restricted to it. And it is the case that we want to encourage that inner explorer in you, that, learner, that appetite for learning. And ultimately, history and academic focus is a broad industry. It's a broad focus. We know that there are additional branding opportunities in there. And we know that we're likely, if we're rolling out additional games, we're likely going to be doing additional collections of, say, Mayan culture, ancient culture, or say, that which proliferated in the cradle of civilization, or that which, was in ancient China. There are so many incredible ancient cultures that have contributed so much to our history, and we'd like to highlight them too. So building out future collections into, say, future games with these Genesis collections of pharaohs being, and the gods being, perhaps more valuable, that becomes something that I would really like our community to be engaged with. And if it is the case that, a governance vote is something that our community is interested in, I would be open to integrating that. But it would be on that relatively limited basis, in that you're not in full control necessarily of the direction. We want it to be the case that our investors can have confidence in the direction of the project, not because they trust all of their other investors who they don't know, but instead they trust us who they do know. And they have watched us deliver product after product after product. And they have watched us stay transparent and available. And they have watched us grow. That can't be said for, say, the rest of the investors. So in terms of giving up too much control to the community, it is a double-edged sword. It can be really great in a lot of ways. It can also be very detrimental in a number of ways. And when we're delivering this kind of a product, it's not in anybody's best interest, as far as I think we're concerned, that we give up, say, full control, full creative ideation, full creative, anything. It will be informed, though, by our community constantly. And we want that feedback. We're actively soliciting it. So governance is very much in the conversation.
One thing I'd like to add real quick, and then I'm going to turn the video off while I get my shoes on and start moving, is actually, I have to take this call real quick. I apologize. It's from another company. But Zach, can you explain where the name Two Lands came from? Sorry, guys. I got to take this.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. No problem. So Two Lands, just to give you guys some color on where that name came from, it is based in ancient Egyptian mythology. There is a legendary king named Narmer from, the old archaic period that united Upper and Lower Egypt. They were split for millennia, and, were a number of warring tribes, essentially, like the Greek city-states of old. And Narmer is this legendary king who united them all and formed the first kingdom of Egypt. So when we talk Two Lands, it truly is an ode to that mythology, to that history. But it is also a little bit of a double entendre, in that we have the duality inherent in Two Lands being kind of metaphorically representative of this DeFi space against traditional financial space, of this, kind of traditional understanding of finance and this new wave. We love kind of working with those double entendres. That theme runs deep. It's a vein that Jared often pulls on, or a string that Jared often pulls on. And yeah, we found our origin there, and the name comes from there. I'm not necessarily sure why he wanted me to share that in that moment, but
thank you very much.
yeah, thank you for the question, man.
I just like to
Okay,
explain
thank
where we
you.
came from
Yeah,
with
let me
Pro.
give opportunity for others to answer that question. Thank you, Sark, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, now let's move
Absolutely.
towards Margaret. Margaret
And yeah,
will
Jared,
answer.
Yes, sir.
no
Margaret,
shade
you
there,
can
my
ask
friend.
your question.
Sir,
Hi there.
Ask your question, Margaret. Hey, we are waiting.
my
I could
question
not
is,
hear.
how is the current Tulane token security system safe from hackers?
Gotcha. Yeah, so we had kind of touched on this earlier, and I'll be happy to talk again, real quick, high level overview. First and foremost, lots of contract audits. So we've already had a number of preliminary audits done on the contracts for our burns, as well as the actual token contract. Those scored extremely high. They look great. We are going to be getting more comprehensive audits done as well, though. We do also have a security team, going into place. We will be doing active security, placement, I guess is the best way to put it, during our development. We will also be incorporating a bounty program for our community to kind of help limit our exposure, but also encourage, say, extra sets of eyes and an engaged community. We will also be doing, sniper protection upon public sale release. We're going to be integrating a number of measures to, I guess, limit exposure to cell pressures. I guess there would be additional security that we had talked about with regard to vesting as well. That is significantly, affecting our stability and our security, in that our private sale is immensely stable, is, fully vested and will be vested over time. Our VC is going to be vested over, years. Our team liquidity is locked for bare minimum 18 months and will be vested over 2 years. Like there are a number of those additional, I guess you could conceptualize them as security measures, in the sense that they provide immense amounts of stability to the project. But I hope that kind of answers the question at a high level overview real quick.
Thank you for your brief answer. This was all about the live segment. I hope Margaret is happy. So this was all about the AMA session with Two Lands, and they presented it very well. We enjoyed the discussion. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Is there any message you would like to give to our people? And you can sign off with that message.
Sure. I'll talk real briefly, just so I have to go. I really encourage you, if you can get on over to our Telegram and join our socials, just watch what we're about to do. It's going to be another month or two, but every day we're going to start making, small announcements until we get to the big ones. But in order to know, you got to be there. And I love to interact. So please ask me questions just on, don't DM me, only because I got thousands of them to sift through. You're better off just asking me questions in the regular Telegram, because I do check that several times a day. And again, like I said, if you could follow our Twitter, especially our YouTube, so we can start going live and answering any questions you can have in person. I really appreciate your support, and I hope and Zach and I are truly grateful, and we hope to earn your trust as people. People first.
Yeah, and that's the message I'll leave you with as well. A message of gratitude, the utmost gratitude. Thank you so much for your time, for your consideration, and we look forward to, seeing you guys here again, to talking more, to, rolling out more and keeping this train going. It's an exciting project, and we're really, really passionate about it. We're really happy to have found the support that we have so far, and we're excited for more. So thank you guys for being a part of it, and have a great rest of your week. look forward to some more rollouts from Tulan's team in the next month. Thank you again.
So much. Have a good day. Bye bye.